So it was bound to happen. After so long not buying books, I couldn't stop myself. I took off yesterday and went down to Half Price Books and went a little bit crazy. But you know, that happens occasionally. I'm hoping that this haul, as it were, it will appeal to both the people who like looking at my adult bookshelves and the ones who like the YA stuff. It's kind of a mix of in between. Plus, I got a really special book that I'm super excited about and want to lord over you. Like that. The first three here I saved out of the clearance bin at Half Price Books, but they were just too nice not to. Sarah Waters' The Night Watch. This sounds like a historical set during World War II. And she's the author of Tipping the Velvet and Fingersmith. I really enjoyed the movie Fingersmith, which is, I think it might be a BBC production. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I saw it maybe like 2 years ago. It was a miniseries and followed this girl who was a thief. And Sarah Waters has a real way with words, as I would hope she would, since she's an author. Anyway, I got it for $2, and it's a nice hardback, so pretty pristine. I loved Christopher Buckley's Thank You for Smoking, both the film and the book, really. And so when I saw this in the clearance section, Boomsday, it's called, Boomsday, a novel, I thought for sure this was something I needed to pick up. Plus, the cover is really very intriguing. It's got a very thick cover, but it's got no cover, it's got no slip cover. It's just the hardback with the laminate on the actual book, and it's pretty thick, so it's got this cardboard hole in it, and then the first page becomes the cover. Anyway, it's bright and kind of fun looking, and since he's known to be a really sort of a dark satirist of humanity, really, and this sounds like a fun thing about it's about a war between baby boomers and my generation, pretty much, and us really not wanting to pay for the baby boomers at all, or the other way around, or something like that. And I'm sure it's dark and disturbing and funny, and I'm gonna read it at some point. I read The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, and while it was kind of a sort of a trudging book to get through, because it was a lot of historical background to get to, I did find it really interesting and just sort of different. It was a really different take on vampirism, and I'm hoping that The Swan Thieves is a worthy successor to that. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know that there's an issue around stolen paintings and things like that, and that there's a psychiatrist involved. So we'll see. I really don't know what this one's about. But it was a beautiful copy. For a matte cover, it's surprisingly unscathed by making it all the way to the clearance bin. So there's that. The next two books are both still adult books, but I think they could be some crossover potential here. The first one is John Connolly's The Gates. And then at the bottom it says, The Gates of Hell are about to open. Want to peek. And it sounds like just sort of a fun, like genre-bending book about, the devil. The devil sort of rising up. And it sounds pretty fun. Young Samuel Johnson and his dachshund Boswell are trying to show initiative by trick-or-treating a full 3 days before Halloween, which is how they come to witness strange goings-on at 666 Crowley Road. Clever, right? The Abernathys don't mean any harm by their flirtation with the underworld, but when they unknowingly call forth Satan himself, they create a gap in the universe, a gap through which a pair of enormous gates is visible, the gates to hell. And there are some pretty terrifying beings just itching to get out. Yeah, I'm totally into that. That's going to get read this year. Also, A. Lee Martinez's Monster I picked up. Also from, the clearance bin, the obscurity of the clearance bin, which is odd. These books are beautiful. I mean, very pristine. And this one was one that I wanted to pick up because it just sounds really fun. It just sounds like the monsters are detectives. It has an urban fantasy feel, but at the same time, I know A. Lee Martinez is a really funny guy, and his books have been really funny. He had a crossover hit with young adult book called Gil's All Fright Diner was quite a while ago, but you may recognize the title. And if you haven't, you should look it up. It was really sort of a fun take on a vampire and a werewolf are friends, and they're kind of roaming the countryside looking for good diner food. It's just kind of quirky and offbeat and really funny. And there's a goth girl who's a necromancer in it, and she's the villain, and it's just fun. Anyway, I also picked up some YA books, which is kind of why you're here, I guess, because I don't know of a lot of people that are... I mean, some people are reading adult books on the BookTuber channels, but a lot of people are really interested in the YA. And so I picked up Amy Huntley's The Ever After, because I'm really interested right now in books that are tackling sort of the life after death stuff in a sort of fantastical way. And I want to see what Amy Huntley's done with The Ever After. Slice of Cherry by Dia Reeves. I love Dia Reeves, and Bleeding Violet, of course, was one of my favorite reads of last year, and I think I have kind of run that idea into the ground. I started reading Slice of Cherry as a library book a while back, but, started reading it too late, and it had to be returned because I couldn't renew it, and then, of course, you know how these things work. So this is going to end up being one of those books that I finished this year. Slice of Cherry, if you don't know, is about the twin daughters of a serial killer and how his proclivities have kind of bled down into their personalities. So, interesting. A companion novel to Bleeding Violet in that it's set in the same sort of universe, but not using the same characters. I was really excited to pick this up. Scott Westerfeld's Leviathan. This copy is so tight. This actually, the binding of this and everything reminds me of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It's got that same heaviness and weightiness of the pages and the tightness of the cover. And for a half-price book, the cover to this is really pristine, really nicely kept. So whoever had this at home, I don't believe ever opened it. So anyway, excited to get that. But more than anything, more than any book that I'm excited to get, a friend of mine who's in my writing group is a librarian, and she went down to the ALA conference, which is the Librarians Conference, down in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. And I asked her, I was like, if you could pick me up this arc, I will put you up on a pedestal. Her name is Sherry, by the way. So everyone thank God for Sherry, because she picked me up A.S. King's Everybody Sees the Ants. This is an arc for a book that's coming out in October of 2011, of this year. Obviously, they don't put out arcs that early for 2012. And A.S. King is the author of Dust of 100 Dogs, and one of my favorite novels that I've read is Please Ignore Vera Dietz. And I can't wait to dig into this. And if you don't know what it's about, and this was one of the books that I kind of featured in my in the video of books that I was really looking forward to for the rest of the year. And it's about a boy whose grandfather died in Vietnam, but has introduced himself to the kid through his dreams, and that he wants to kind of pull him out through it because he thinks that his life will be better if his grandfather never died, which possibly, who knows. But lots of like family turmoil and things like that. Realistic fiction with sort of a quirky edge to it, and that's kind of a niche that A.S. King is really carving out for herself, and I'm really excited to read it. Anyway, that's my that's the books I got this week. Exciting, right?